Previously on Chef School.
My name is Mellisa Roy, and I'm in culinary management.
My name is Dallas Bernhardt, and I go to Loyalist Culinary.
So they're working towards creating a multi-course meal.
This year, again, we have some protocols in place in terms of how many students can be in the kitchen at once.
You need a very specific kind of an end, a certain goal that you want, a certain elegance that you want.
The theme that the students chose was new beginnings and spring.
Cooking in 2020, moving forward as well, it looks very different.
I feel like when it comes to when we test, there's going to be a lot of bumps we have to go over.
We're doing very well, so I don't have any problems with seeing us being successful with this. So we had the idea of putting together 3 desserts on a plate. So we have rice, it's a coconut rice pudding. We have a banana mousse, and then we have a coconut macaron with chocolate and candied orange. And originally the idea was to have 3 desserts spread out, and that was all good until we saw them on the plate, and it looked like it was too separate. So when Chef Scott and Chef Karen looked at it, they had suggested that maybe we put it together in different ways. So we've come up with a plan now that we can implement for the final dinner. So we're pretty excited about that.
They were really struggling to get past the basic plating. One of the things that they struggled with was elevating the dishes, so taking them to that next level, generating some sophistication from the elements.
Well, and you guys saw it as soon as I picked it up, right? They all went for a little ski ride.
And so that was a really big challenge, and I think that part of that has to do with life experience. So if you've never dined in a restaurant where you've had many courses, it can be really challenging. And one of the things we usually do with the students is take them out for a meal like that in the fall before we start the planning process. So unless you've actually experienced it, it can be very difficult. It's a difficult bridge to find and then cross as a developing cook. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges.
How you put the items on the plate is important, and it can change within the dish, and there's 1,000,001 different styles and ways. And I remember our last session with the dessert team, we played with the plating of that dish. We did it 3 or 4 different ways just in that last session.
I have an immense amount of respect for the team in terms of how they handled that, though, because we kept coming back to them and saying, this isn't it. Like, this isn't sophisticated enough. And that would be painful to hear. But they just kept at it. They kept going back and refining. And eventually we got there. Like, eventually they started to push out and think of things in a slightly different way. And, you know, where we ended up getting to, I think, is testament to that tenacity.
This time we're just going to do banana chips.
Okay.
We're going to do banana chips, brush it with some brandy, and then we're going to try a bunch of different possibilities, like dipping it in
The
chocolate.
common thread here is that they want to make it excellent. I mean, it was really difficult for them because they came to the table with some ideas that we didn't care for at the beginning, and it's hard to hear that feedback. You know, Dallas, Mellisa, and the entire team put their effort to come up with these ideas, and sometimes it hurts when somebody says, that's not good enough, or that's not what we're looking for. And it did take many kicks at the can to get that kind of refinement and sophistication that we were looking for, but I would say generally the perseverance of the team was amazing. What we got to in our last session together was miles away from what we started with, but it shows their commitment to the craft.
Bring on the desserts, please.
Both Dallas and Mellisa really care about what they're doing. I think they both have a strong desire to achieve something that's really good. They were willing to try things. They were willing to look for different alternatives, different recipes. So I think they both brought an equal level of focus and determination, as Chef Scott said, to the project, which is amazing.
You have to rely on a team. It's okay to make a mistake and to learn from those mistakes, but you need to come in knowing that you need to give your best effort and put in as much as you can.
Mellisa, she's a really good team leader. I actually enjoy working with her. She is fast at what she does. She's a really nice person, and I honestly enjoy working with her when she's on my team.
We've had a really good team. I think maybe we might be a little closer than we were. We know each other's strengths, we know how to get a hold of each other, but we've always been a really good team with a lot of good work ethic. It hasn't been just one person doing all of the work, it's actually been very shared, which is quite nice.
Mellisa and Dallas are excellent. They're focused, they really want to get it right, they really want to learn, and it's an absolute pleasure working with them. When we work together, it's never arrogance. They'll say, how do I get here? And then we'll have a conversation, and it won't be, one person telling the other person what to do. It'll actually be a conversation about food science, about, goals, about all these things that we want to accomplish. They take constructive criticism really well. They are able to change, and they're able to really focus on what needs to be focused on. I came into the kitchen and we talked about how to lighten up a certain dish, how to kind of richen it up. And even for me, I've never done the product that they're making or the way they wanted to do it. So even I had to sit back and go, how would I accomplish that? So it was kind of cool for me to actually be able to be creative and constructive alongside with them so that they could get there. So they actually taught me some stuff by saying, chef, here's what we want, how do we get there, right? And together we worked at it. So there was direct input from everybody, and at the end of it, the product was that nicer piece that they wanted. Actually, they were able to find it and work with it. So I don't do it for them. I offer some constructive advice, and then they take it and they run with it. And they have the ability, they have the knowledge, and more importantly, they have the desire to actually make that happen. These two are fantastic. I have absolutely no doubt it's going to be completely remarkable.
The sorbet, it's always a challenging thing because this sorbet has a specific function as a palate cleanser. So when we think of ice cream, when we think of gelato, when we think of sorbet, we think of dessert. So we think of something that should be sweet and smooth and delicious. But a palate cleanser sorbet has the very important job of refreshing the palate in between the appetizer and the main course. There was a little bit of a challenge in achieving something that wasn't too sweet and would accomplish the goal of refreshing the palate, but still be the right texture. It was interesting because when we tasted the rice pudding, very, very rich, right, as it should be, but we tasted the sorbet after that, and it did really effectively cleanse the palate. So they achieved what they set out to do, but it wasn't a straight road.
And it's interesting too when we're talking about that mint in there. Sorbet should be a little bit acidic to kind of give that refreshing texture and pleasure before the main course. But the mint is a tricky one, right? Because if it was overpowering with the mint, it would affect the next course in a negative way. So they really hit that balance in the end, and it was really nice to see.
I'm glad, Dallas, that we didn't go thinner because based on everything that it went through, it wouldn't have worked out.
I feel very prepared. I'm not worried about it at all. We've had a lot of coaching and a lot of support from Chef Scott, Chef Karen, and even Chef John, and we've just really kind of ushered to success, really. You get an emotional high, and it's almost like there's an adrenaline rush, that when things get down to the wire, you gotta go, 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 and the adrenaline is just unlike anything other. So it's really fun to just get in there and just plow through it. So it's really great.
Dessert's very, very important. Palate cleansers in the middle of meals, so a nice sorbet, something that's going to lighten and freshen up your palate. Desserts at the end of the meal is a memory. It's a way of finishing off this beautiful, gorgeous meal. Each individual piece that's being put together is remarkable, and it's really cool how it's kind of all flowing into each other. So it's a symphony. This meal is a story being told, and desserts is the final chapter on that story. So you've had this incredible meal and you sit back and you go, wow, that was brilliant. And then you get this dessert that just makes you go, what a perfect finish.